All right, I'm sorry.
Nice. The whole point of this build is to show you guys it really isn't insanely difficult to build a terrarium with a water feature in it. Hi guys, how's it going? Thank you for clicking on my video and for following my channel. My name is Josh. I'm the owner and founder of the Bldg, and I have a different type of video for you guys today. We downsized our Borneo eared frog breeding group just a little bit, and we're putting them in a 36-18-18. And to facilitate this, I'm building a Paludarium, and I'm going to show you guys how to use our Bldg Waterfall kit, as well as some of the unique steps I'm going to do to create a really one-of-a-kind setup, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. So let's get building. So as you can see in here, I have built essentially a makeshift drainage layer. As you can see here, I'm using egg crate that I purchased from Home Depot. I cut the assorted pieces together and I have them attached, zip ties. And then the entire area is then covered in some of our screen divider here, as well as some hot glue on some of the problem areas that want to overlap. And then the pump is going to be going to the inside of here. And then for easy access of the pump, I built a little hidden door, which you can see right here. Now I'm really excited to show you guys how I'm going to be doing this. But the first thing that I need to do is making sure that this is safe for my critters, and making sure that this is set in place, and making sure that my critters can't get in it, can't get behind it, and that I'm going to be able to easily access my pump. So we're going to get started to do that. So the first thing we're going to use some of my aquarium sealant. And then we also have some of the great stuff. This is just a generic version of it. We sell it on the website, and this is what's included in your kit. Now, here's the thing. Whenever you are doing backgrounds, you always need to do your layer of silicone first. If you do great stuff directly to the glass, it is going to completely detach. Okay, so you notice I'm doing this lying down because we're obviously going to be covering all of this up, right? With exception of the door. So I'm excited to show you guys how I'm going to do that. We also have this piece of Super Grow that we have cut out that is going to be the top layer, which I'm going to put on very last. So first I want to make sure this is snuggled up against the floor of the terrarium, which it is. The first thing you want to do before you ever do this is water test. It's recommended if you're going to spend a lot of money on doing something like this that you do those preventative testing steps first to make sure you don't put all this work and then it starts leaking a month later. So the first thing I'm going to do is start reinforcing my access points. And to do that, I'm just going to put some silicone here on the edges and onto the bases. Now, you can use black silicone, you can use clear silicone. You want to make sure that you use the correct type of silicone. It's really important because silicone will leach other things into your water over time. And you want to make sure that you do get the proper one that doesn't emit ammonia and other things like that. And we have a whole blog about it on my website. Next step I got to do is I got to get more up here on this corner to fill in this section here. Right like that. Boom. Now that is going to make sure that this is 100% in place and good to go. The key to this is making sure that this actually stays in place where you want it. So that way the silicone can cure. You want to make sure you do this in a very well ventilated room. So to facilitate that, I'm going to put this box right up against so that way it can't push off the silicone. Now the next step I'm going to do is start adding in some of my expanding foam. Now the biggest thing to remember about this expanding foam is it's going to do exactly what it says. It's going to thoroughly expand. So you want to make sure you use less. But again, if you attach this directly to the glass without silicone in the back, it is going to completely detach. You have to do silicone, expanding foam, silicone on top, and I'll show you guys how we're going to do that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here And it's good just to go nice and slow. Now just remember, it's really easy to be able to cut this with a knife and manipulate it. So sometimes it's easier to do a little bit than a lot. I am using pumice rock to cover up the front of this. What I love about pumice is that water will go right through it. It'll help keep it clean, and it's very, very lightweight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this piece right here, and I'm gonna put a ton of silicone right at the back. Right like this. Remember how I said to you guys, if you're gonna use great stuff as your holder, you need to make sure you have silicone in there. I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna put this right here, right like that. And then I got this piece right here. And I'm gonna do the same thing. Okay? I'm gonna put this piece right up here against the edge, right like that. Now, obviously this foam is gonna kick past this a little bit, right? But I'll be able to cut that back and get that the way that I want it. And then we have this nice piece of feather rock right here. Okay, so we got lava rock. We're gonna put it right on here, right like this. Okay. Now, this is where it can get a little tricky. So you guys see my door wants to open, and that's okay. So now we got a little bit more stuff to fill in. So next what I'm gonna do is take my great stuff, and I'm just gonna very gently get this right here. So now what I'm fully expecting to happen is I'm fully expecting this to cure. So I guess the next thing I'm going to do is just start working on this back piece here. I need to go down over here, and I need to get a little bit of foam. There it is. There it is. That's where the foam was needed, right there. And I'm just kind of making sure that I get under these crevices up over here, making sure everything is exactly where I want it to be, how I want it to be, as this is going to dry and continue to expand. We're gonna give this about 5 to 6 hours until I come back and I check this to see where we're at. And then we're gonna get to the next spot, and that's working on the ridge. If in 4 hours I feel like the great stuff isn't where it needs to be, then I'm gonna wait, give it another hour, 2 hours. But within 6 hours, I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna do my top portion, get my super grow in here, get the final bones of the top taken care of, and then we're gonna let it sit and cure. And then from there, we'll be able to carve, silicone the top, and get everything sealed up. Okay, so we're back. It's been sitting for a while. Come and take a look here. This is what we got. So obviously we're going to be fixing all of this, right? Cleaning all of this up, shaving it down, but we have the nice rock front taken care of. We have to figure out what we're going to be doing here, and then of course working on the door. But the first thing I want to work on is a couple things. So number one, I want to get this back suctioned in like I have the other. So I'm just going to take the silicone. I'm going to go right like this. This is just another way to make sure that I am keeping everything nice and secure. We have this piece of super grow. So I want you guys to think of this as my drainage layer. This is going to catch all the large particulates before we even move forward with anything. And I'm going to literally put it right on top of here like so. So now with this being in here and everything being essentially locked in place, you can see now how the super grow is essentially stuck on here right at the very top. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I have a whole bunch of rocks. These are pumice rocks. And what I'm going to do is essentially create a substrate barrier that's going to go right here, piece by piece around the top. So that way what that's going to do is help keep some of the substrate in. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take some silicone, and I'm just kind of going to go right like this. Okay, and then I'm going to take some pumice stones, and I'm going to make sure it's actually on the silicone, like so. Because again, if you just use the great stuff, it will disconnect, it will not hold up over time. Okay, so here we have our initial rock wall. So first, and then I'm gonna go right like this. And again, I'm gonna go really light with it because again, it's gonna expand like crazy. And you can see it's really easy to overtake like the rocks that you're using, right? The hope is that this will prevent any substrate from getting into the water. Now we're not going to be using a whole bunch of substrate in here. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to build it up one more level higher. And I'm just going to go right like this. So I'm going to put this right here like this. So of course I'm going to be going in here again with a little bit more silicone and, you know, siliconing up over these just to make sure that we facilitate the proper rock level and things like that. Like the level that I want. And then all I'm gonna do is go in the back and I'm just gonna reinforce everything I just did, like so. So now that this piece is in there like this, I'm going to take this piece, I'm going to stick that right here in hopes that it'll stick, which I think it will. And another piece right here. 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 Nice. So the next thing that I got to do now is we have to get this edge covered up with some great stuff, which I'm actually going to do that right now. So I didn't put any silicone down on this end because it's not going to really stick. And then I'm going to close this off with a small piece like so. All right, guys, so now you have it. We got the very entry-level portion done. Now this is gonna have to dry for a while. So I've been letting this cure for about three days or so, and you can see how well this looks. I'm really happy with it. It definitely needs a little bit of cleaning up. We have our base layer here, which I made out of egg crate covered in a window screen. I grate stuffed and siliconed it in and then put numerous pieces of pumice to create the rock wall. Now to facilitate what we're going to do next is we're going to take a Dremel and we're going to Dremel this background down. Now if you're using a Dremel and you're going to be doing this with the great stuff or anything like it, you got to wear a mask. And if you're going to be getting your eyes in there close, wear eye protection too. I usually start it at around a speed of 6, so halfway. gonna go a little faster. Okay, so now after this is done, again, as I continue to look, the biggest thing I'm looking for is, are there any protrusions I don't like? Is there anything on here that just isn't sitting with me? And as of right now, there's only one more spot that I missed, and that's right here. What this will also do is allow you to see where your weak structure points are. So now that I got my great stuff on this side taken care of, the next step I gotta do is grab a vacuum, and I gotta suck all this out, because you can't put silicone on top of here with all of this dust and debris, because it may impact the shearing process. So let's go take care of that really quick. Okay guys, so the next step is I'm gonna work on the door, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of these pieces of pumice rock, and I'm just gonna go right like this. I'm just gonna get them pinpointed onto here where I want them, with the amount of silicone that I want. Now I'm using smaller rocks that are as lightweight as possible. And then after the entire portion is in, then I'm gonna go in and attach a little bit more silicone around the edges, just so that way I know it's nice and secure. Okay, so now that all of my pieces are where I want them, now I'm gonna come in here. It's probably really cloudy, but so now what the next step is to do is we're going to let this great stuff expand. We're going to let this silicone dry, and then we're going to come in here, and then we're going to be siliconing over all of the great stuff, and then using the substratum grounded up to put on top of the silicone. So it's going to create a really beautiful rock wall. And then after that, we got to do a little bit of drilling into the actual back piece and get the tubing and everything installed. And then after the tubing, the pump and everything is in place, then it's as simple as getting it disinfected, cleaned, make sure that there's absolutely no smell. Before I put this habitat together, I will likely wait at least a week. Okay guys, so I'm gonna wear glasses, or safety glasses, because it was really dusty last time. So it's been many hours. The silicone still needs a little bit more time for this top part here, but it's dry enough for me to start messing with it. But now I need to start working on getting this door chafened up to be the way I want. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my Dremel, get it nice and even. Then I'm gonna start doing what I did before. Love it. Okay. So I'm gonna get this suctioned up. This is really awesome. Let's get this stood up, standing up, and let's take a look at how this looks. And it snaps right into place perfectly. And the rocks are nice and entwined. Okay, so now the next step for me, you know, I use mortar and pestles all the time for cooking, for making medicine concoctions. You know, there's a lot of good things you can do with a mortar and pestle. This is Exoterra's substratum. So this is essentially just pumice rock, blended down into a mineral powder, and then put through a machine that turns them into these little bumps. So the expectation is that it's going to give a little bit of a unique texture that almost looks like a rock texture to my background, but also provide multiple different shapes and sizes and everything like that. So first thing, gotta have gloves. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start just by putting a little bit of beads of silicone right here. Now this section, this is probably one of the most important parts because this is the glue that holds everything together, so to speak. Obviously this is gonna be holding all of our substratum. So next I'm gonna use one hand and I'm just gonna move my silicone to have an even cover like this. So wherever there is silicone, I am taking my substratum right here and I am simply placing it right on top like so. Then all we do is just make sure to give it a little bit of a pat, right like this. Now I'm gonna add the bigger balls on top to create a little bit of extra texture. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna let this sit for a while. Hey guys, good morning. So this tank's been sitting here for a couple days. We're ready to finally finish up the last part of the wall. Then it's cleaning it and getting it going. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill in this section here and then this piece of great stuff here, doing the exact same thing. And then we're just gonna let it sit. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is just get some of this silicone laid out here. Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my thumb. I'm just gonna do a little bit of smearing. Alright guys, it's been about a week since we laid down all the initial infrastructure. We have everything covered up, everything vacuumed. I have the pump behind the little door here. That's super easily accessible with this 1/2-inch tubing. You can see I drilled a hole right here. Any type of loose end right around this spot, I'm gonna stuff with Super Grow. But first we're gonna test to make sure that this actually works and that it is going to work long term. So I'm gonna go ahead and add in my water. Now the biggest thing I'm paying attention to is watch how quickly the water level matched. That is going to be very, very important as we continue, as well as letting this initial water cycle for a while, draining it, adding in some fresh water, and then finally getting to building. So this is gonna be part of the waterfall. Hey guys, we're back. And it's finally ready to build. So we have a 22-inch Bldg Glow and Grow LED up here. I will be affixing some UVB and potentially a moderate basking spot for the Borneos because they are right by the back door. Sometimes if it's colder outside, draft can come in here, so I'm going to be paying close attention to that. So the first thing that I'm going to do on top of the Super Grow is I'm actually going to put a little bit of Hydro Grow version 1, and I'm going to dump it like so. Now the reason I'm deciding to use a little bit of Hydro Grow version 1 in here to cover up the base is so that way it's going to act as another type of drainage layer. It will also help with the longevity of the isopods in the springtails, just to the simple fact of the large amount of calcium that is found in here, since this is essentially calcined clay. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna spread this out right like this. Nothing too crazy. I'm using right now about a 1/2 inch layer that is on top of the Super Grow. And you can see here that the tubing and the plug cord are currently exposed. So obviously that's going to be, I'm not saying a thing of concern, but something that I am going to fully expect to have fixed before I get going. And then the next step is going to be to adding in a little bit of substrate. So I do have some terra fauna here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of my terra fauna, and I'm just going to carefully place this right on top like so. Now, because of the height of this habitat, we are obviously going to need to use larger plants. Larger plants require more structure to hold them up, which means that is more dirt. You notice I'm just going a little bit at a time. I'm being very careful not to get any into my water area, because I want to make sure I keep my water area as clean and pristine as possible. It's inevitable, substrate will get in my water. Maintaining water quality is very, very important. Your roots are going to play a large portion with your soil health, but roots also play a large portion with your water health as well, helping establish the nitrogen cycle, all that stuff. So now we have a really, really nice substrate area. You can see here in the back, it goes almost as deep as my index finger, which is right around what I want. I'm just going to put a little bit more in the back. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the substrate a light misting. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of sphagnum moss. What I'm going to be doing is just putting a little bit kind of scattered along the top like this. Got a nice mixture of leaf litter. This is a mixture of live oak and water oak and Indian almond leaves, which I'm just going to go right like this. Now, for the initial layer, I'm not using a lot of leaves. The majority of the leaves are going to be put on after the build is completely done. So now we have our super grow on top of the main thing that's holding everything up of the frame. And then on top of super grow, we have hydro grow version 1. And we have our dam that I built right here. And then we have our substrate with a little bit of sphagnum moss and a little bit of leaf litter on top, but it will get mixed in. So now the next step is to start figuring out the waterfall. Because the flow is so high on this pump, but that's what I wanted, I'm going to put a little bit of screen right here like this, and I'm going to wrap it around the front like so. And then I'm going to take my rubber band. If you don't want to use a rubber band, you can also use things like zip ties. But keep in mind, when you go this route, you need to make sure that you can easily access it. So now what I need to do is start figuring out my water feature. So I know the lip of my guy is going to be right here, which means what I need to do is start building my elevation platforms, which is going to be out of the slate rock. So the first piece I'm going to need is going to need to be the flat piece that establishes. It's really important, guys, that you rinse off your rocks. Trust me, it will save you headaches in the future with water quality and this and that. And then we're gonna just start kind of stacking it right like this. So now I have a nice little articulated layer here to be able to kind of put this guy right here like so. So that way the water articulates down from here onto here. But I have a wild card, which is this piece right here that I've been wanting to use. And that is gonna go right like this. And I'm actually gonna build it right like that. And then I'm actually gonna put another small piece of slate right in that hole. To be able to consistently facilitate the dripping. Look at that. I love it. Okay. All right. So next, we got to get the water added into the actual section. And then I know I'm going to actually have to fill in a little bit more substrate here in the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the back, and I'm just going to I'm going to be working my way up from the back. So that way I am creating what would be considered an even platform for my dew to rest on, which I'd say is pretty good right here. I need a little bit more here. There we go. So now that I have what I think is my initial base layer of my waterfall with where I want it, The next thing I'm gonna do is put in some of my rocks. Now I have seen these beautiful colored river rocks mini. We sell these on the website by the pound. And I'm just going to gently put them in here at the bottom. I believe I'm using about 3 pounds of stones for this little area, give or take. You can also use like white sand or other things like that. Okay, so now that we have our base section in here, again, you don't have to use large rocks, guys. I'm doing it because that's what I want to use. I think it's gonna look nice. So then I'm gonna take my RO water. And then we're gonna let this balance out. I am planning on keeping a minimum of 6 inches of water in here at all times. Now it's time to test the pump. All right, guys, so there is no way I'm gonna be able to keep the tiki because the power of the pump from overflowing into the back and completely ruining my substrate. Now, if I used a tiny pump, like a 150-gallon power pump, I probably could have pulled it off, but when you're using this much water, I need more water movement than what that little pump is gonna give me for this amount of water. So, unfortunately, as much as I would have loved to be able to have something like that, I don't feel comfortable setting up my critters to fail just because it's something I want to do. So, what I am going to do is I'm going to get this piece of wood where I want it, and then I'm going to take this tube, and we're going to put this tube right here like this. And now we're going to test, and we're going to see how well this holds, and if it's to my liking. We don't have any drippage out of the back into the soil with just a little bit of splashing, and then it also allows me to build up a little bit of soil and other things here. I'm gonna be fixing it into place by utilizing the slate rock that I have right here to set up the sides. So I'm gonna work on getting that squared away. There we go. There it is. I got this really nice Java moss right here. And now, since this cork is going to be wet all the time, we're gonna put some Java moss right on here, and I fully expect it to completely connect. And then, of course, I'm gonna put a little bit of Java moss here, a little bit of Java moss here. So my hope is that it completely connects and starts to spread all throughout here on this rock, going up here, going up here, going up here, because again, this is going to be consistently moving at this rate. And you can see with how I built it coming down this way, you can see it's dripping out down here, dribbling out down here on the side, but none of it is going into the back substrate. And I do want to use this. So I guess before I put any type of hardscape in any further, I do need to start looking at my plants. So here we have what is considered to me a beautiful, beautiful monstera. And this is going to be one of the things that they're going to lay their eggs in. And I'm going to put this up here in this corner. So to facilitate that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig a hole almost down to the drainage layer, but not into the drainage layer. And I'm going to make sure that all my stuff is where it needs to be, which it is. After I can see that all of my roots are completely covered up and where they need to be, I'm going to take a little bit of terra fauna, and I'm just gonna start closing in here into the back. The biggest thing is making sure that there is enough space for your roots to grow. And then we got some absolute stunning pieces of ghost wood. Okay, that looks nice. So I got this really nice cork tube right here. There it is. Check this really quick. All right, so I gotta take off. There we go. So what I did was put a 5-inch pot net cup right on the inside. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bromeliad Now I'm going to take a bunch of spag, and I'm going to get this covered in the spag, like so. And then I'm going to take this, and I'm going to put it right in that cup, like so. So one of the biggest things that's going to be really important here is them being able to put their eggs over the water. So me facilitating that is honestly one of the most important things that I'm going to be doing with the remainder of the build. This is though. That's it. Now I have this beautiful rattlesnake vine, a Calathea lancifolia. I'm going to dig my hole right here. I'm going to get this planted right down here on the water's edge like so. So now there's a couple things that I'm going to want to happen here. Again, making sure that they have places to breed. So we have these arrowhead vines that were in their old habitat. This stuff is the bee's knees for this species. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put their base roots directly under the rocks like so. And then there's going to be 2 systems. And you can see how I'm doing it. I am getting the base and all the root systems put down onto the floor. So that way it stands straight up like so. So now we have an arrowhead vine here. We do have this beautiful prayer plant right here that, I'm going to be honest, this guy, he's not in the greatest condition. So that's why I'm using him. You can see there's a whole bunch of burn holes on here, but I'm doing this because I don't want to lose it and it's close to flowering. And I'm fully expected this plant to make a full recovery. So what I'm going to do, just like all the others, I'm going to dig a small hole. I'm going to very carefully put this guy in that hole. Get that down. Okay, and now that I can see how that is, I know that I'm going to need a tiny bit more substrate. So in this whole build, guys, I maybe used 8 quarts of substrate, if that. I did not use a lot. The whole point of this build is to show you guys it really isn't insanely difficult to build a terrarium with a water feature in it. So then we got this bad boy right here to top everything off. These are the big pothos leaves that were also in their habitat. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mount this naturally like so. Now, I'm going to have to pay really close attention to this plant to make sure it doesn't outcompete my monstera, because it will get big very quickly. Okay, so now what's going to come next is I got to give this a really, really good misting. I am using dwarf white isopods. There's a total of 70 to 100 of them in here. I'm going to dump them right behind this Calathea. Done. And then we're going to take the springtails. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray, create a little puddle like that. Then I'm going to take that puddle, boom. Next, we're going to just start taking some of the leaves, the leaf litter mixture that we have here, and we're just going to start putting them in here, just like so. All right, guys, today is finally the day. It is freezing cold outside. We have a massive cold front coming through Texas. On a positive note, we have this nice, warm, tropical Paludarium here for my beautiful, beautiful Borneo eared frogs. So I just want to show you guys, I consider these guys to be the aliens of the amphibian world. They just look out of this world. Their giant eyes, their cryptic coloration, their unique adaptations to survive in Borneo, dry periods with having water in their habitat is always a plus. We are providing them UVB, and we are going to be misting this habitat about twice a day. We're really excited to get these guys in here, and I'm really hoping that they are going to enjoy it. We do have a breeding group of 6, so just to put it in perspective here. You guys do notice that I'm wearing gloves whenever I mess with any of my amphibians. I always am wearing gloves. Look how he blends right in with that ghost wood. Amazing. There you go, buddy. Here, very active indeed. I hope they like this habitat. I really do. Oh. All right, I'm sorry. And there you have it, guys. This is my 1836 Zoom-Med Paludarium for my breeding group of Borneo eared frogs. We hope to continue to produce many more captive bred babies this year. You can find the captive bred babies on Morph Market. You can find them here in my store. And if we are doing a local reptile show, you might even find some there too. And of course, like all of our other amphibians here, they come with a 14-day guarantee. And we do chytrid and rana test all of our critters before they even go out on the floor. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a blast making it. It's been a lot of fun. Appreciate everybody's support. Due to bides.